This is Money Talks.
Hi, my name is Ibukun Oyedeji, President CFA Society Nigeria. Join me and a host of other financial industry practitioners for Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria.
Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money. Hello everyone and welcome to Money Talks. Money Talks is a program brought to you by CFA Society Nigeria. Smart Uzechi is my name. Today on the show, my guest is a very, very astute human being, so to speak. He's a hothead as far as accounting is concerned. And I have in the studio here Oluwatoye Olosunde. He's a chartered accountant with experience in banking and finance, audit and assurance, and a keen interest in strategy and entrepreneurship. He currently manages audit and assurance engagement in a Big Four accounting firm for various organizations, including listed entities, public interest entities, and multinational corporations, having previously led the financial reporting and investor relations functions in a Nigerian merchant bank. He's a first-class graduate of accounting and a CFA program candidate. So, ladies and gentlemen of CFA Society and Money Talks, let's make welcome Oluwatoye Olosunde. Can I call you Toye?
Very fine, Toye is fine.
Toye, good evening to you and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Captain Smart and everyone listening in. My joy to be here.
Yes, and today we're going to be talking about rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. I like this one because it hits home. Everybody is affected by this one, and everybody will have an opinion about this particular one. Again, rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. Let's get straight to it because I know we're going to be running short for time, and I want us to maximize every second on the program this evening. So, Toye, people will talk about inflation, including those who may not necessarily understand what inflation is all about. So very quickly, can you help us to define the term inflation and tell us how it affects the cost of living for individuals and even for households?
All right, thank you very much, Captain Smart. Speaking about inflation, a very common word that we throw around, but to define it, we'll say inflation is the rise in general prices of goods and services. You know, when you see the prices of things at a point in time increase from what it used to be. For instance, if I could take us back in the 80s and the 90s, you probably could get a car for maybe 2,000, 3,000. But that same amount can at best probably get you a family size of loaf bread, you know, in current economic terms. So what we have said that happened is inflation. So inflation, when you talk about the impact of it, what it does is to gradually over time reduce the purchasing power of a nation's currency. So with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 back in those days, you could get, you know, a good as big as a car, but right now you can't get more than maybe two family size of bread.
2,000 can't get you two family size loaves of bread.
Maybe that bad now.
Maybe one family size and one agege bread, small one.
Maybe one family size and half family size. Let's put it that way. So I think that inflation generally put is when you see elevated increase in prices of goods and services over time. Yes, you have inflation there.
Wow. So thank you so much for putting it so very simply right there. So right now in Nigeria, inflation is at its highest, 33.7% or thereabouts.
Great, yeah.
Trying to hit
3.69%,
you know. And it's the highest in about 2 decades now. And even globally, because sometimes here in Nigeria we say, oh, we're not the only ones. It's happening everywhere across the world. So even world over, it's about the highest in about 3 years right now. So can you help us explain the factors that can contribute to rising inflation rates?
All right, so on the global front, over the past couple of years, we have seen that a lot of economies are just trying to recover from the impact of COVID-19. It was quite a pandemic, and then we've seen a lot of government spending, intervention, and subvention to try to kind of boost the economies across. as well on the global front, we have seen distortions around supply chains as a result of the war between Ukraine and Russia. For instance, Ukraine, of course, are one of the largest exporters of food stuff like corn, like wheat, barley, and likes. Why Russia is about one of the largest exporter of oil and its derivatives. And so when you have this major exporter of these kind of goods at war, with each other, you can only expect that the supply that you typically get from these warring nations would reduce drastically. Coming back home, locally, we have seen as a result of major changes to fiscal policies. Just in the last 1 year, we have seen subsidy removal. We have seen FX subsidy removal as well. We've seen oil subsidy removal, and just very recently we saw hike in electricity tariffs across certain bands, even though that is still being contested. And so all of these put together, by the time we look at it, have helped to kind of drive the inflationary pressure that we are currently experiencing as an economy higher. So these are very major at a high level costs and drivers of inflation that we currently experience.
So what inflation does basically is to reduce your purchasing power.
Exactly.
The disposable income you have.
Exactly.
The value continues to go down and down over the period. So what steps then can individuals take to ensure that they maintain some financial stability and protect their disposable income during these inflationary periods as we have them now?
Okay, so understanding the biting effect of inflation itself is very key to taking steps to being financially stable. Right. First of all, you are knowing that with 3,000 in your pocket today, in 2, 3, 4 months time or down the line, you may not be able to get the same things that you would perhaps get for 3,000 now. That clarity that comes with that understanding is very key to taking steps to being financially stable. Depending on the individual's risk appetite, whether it's an household or an individual, you want to look for appropriate investment vehicles that can help to hedge or reduce the impact of inflation. Because whether you like it or not, if history is actually a good teacher, we'll most likely continue to experience inflation into the foreseeable future. And so, first of all, based on your risk appetite as an individual, you want to map out, or you want to speak with a financial advisor or an investment professional on what investment vehicles could help to shield you against the impact of inflation. And just when I say investment vehicles, just like what you would use an umbrella for in rainy day, to shield you from the harsh and biting effects of the rain. And so you want to find the right investment vehicle that you can invest and give you real returns. Returns that may not exactly cut out the effect of inflation, but can help reduce your exposure to the biting effect of inflation. So first of all, understand that inflation is a thing. Next is to find an investment vehicle that you can put your money, because it makes no sense, absolutely no sense, to have so much money in the bank these days, because it's just like a pile, like a complete piece of cake, like put into the oven, and then when you bring it out, you see that a portion of it has been taken off. Because if you have 10,000 naira in the bank today, leave it there for how much is the how much is the return you're gonna earn on that? And so you have to find that mix between liquidity and your need to understand how much you need to keep at the bank or idle or fallow for a period of time, and then find the best investment vehicle that can help to shield you from the biting effect of inflation.
In case you're joining us now, Money Talks is on your radio, and you can join the conversation here because I am discussing with Toye Olosunde. Toye is talking to us about rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. And you can join the conversation here by asking questions, or you will have a contribution to make. We will also welcome that. 0700-923-923-923, or you can call 0818-444-0923. That's 0818-444-0923, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp 0817-313-6193. That's 0817-313-6193. Welcome your contributions across the channels this evening as we discuss this very, very important topic, which I am very sure everybody can relate with: rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. So Toye, as the calls start to come in, I want you to also tell us what effect you think inflation will have on savings and investment, and how does one actually deal with those effects as they come?
All right, so largely spoken, loosely speaking, inflation, what it does is to reduce the value of anything monetary. That is what it does. And so the impact of inflation on whether it's savings or whether it's investment is to literally reduce, the nominal value of that savings or that investment that an individual or an household holds, maintain at a particular time. And so, understanding that for every 10,000 naira that you have saved, that you have locked up somewhere, or for every 10,000 naira that you invest, there is a possibility that as a result of passage of time, as a result of inflation, that 10,000 naira may not exactly be 10,000 naira anymore, right? And so that is because of the inherent presence of inflation in whatever economy that 10,000 naira has been saved or locked up in, or invested. And so households and individuals must always understand that while of course inflation is a systemic thing, it's not something that as a person you can wish away. It's not something you can wish away. If we could wish it away, everybody would probably just have done that by now. But because it's a systemic inherent thing, as an household that is investing or that is saving money, you have to make sure that for every investment and saving decisions that you are making it first of all considering that my risk appetite. Second, you're looking at the return. What is the return that this would most likely or potentially give, at the end of the day? You have to invest with the alpha in mind, right? You have to invest or save with an alpha in mind, because if you do not do that, you are not able to manage or reduce your exposure, the depleting effect of inflation on your savings, on your disposable income. So savings and investment, while being exposed to inflation, can help to reduce that impact of inflation.
0700-923-923-923. That's the number to call. You can also call 0818-444-0923 or 0818-555-0923 and ask your questions here this evening. And we'll have messages coming in here. The other number you can call is 0818-444-0923 or 0818-555-0923, or send messages on WhatsApp to 0817-313-6193. That's 0817-313-6193. I have Toye here with me in the studio, and we're talking about the impact of rising inflation on disposable income. And I'm sure everybody's affected by this one. How does this impact on your finances is what we're talking about here in the studio this evening. So Toye, how best then do you think one can protect one's income or finances from the effect of inflation that we're currently in now? What can somebody do? You have talked about keeping money in the bank and how the value of the money in the bank is always going down. It's not the same. Maybe if I keep my money in the bank this month, by the time I go there next month, inflation may have acted on it and it has reduced in value. So how can I protect myself against that?
Okay, so just to put it out there, it's not a bad thing to save your money in the bank, absolutely, because you always have liquidity needs, you always have cash flow needs, and so. But first of all, you need to understand that you can have the right amount. There's a right mix that you need to maintain. There should be an amount that you set aside. You just keep in the bank. If you don't maintain that right mix, you might find out that there's an opportunity cost, for that. And so to answer your question, how does one best protect one's income? First of all, like Kenyans will say.
Okay, just hold your thought there. We'll have a call on the line. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. Thank you so much for calling. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Fenty Ojelabi. I'm calling from Lekki.
All right, go ahead, talk to us.
So good evening. I wanted to ask a question about the vehicles that are available for a person to protect themselves in this inflation.
Okay, vehicles that are available. All right, thank you very much. I'm sure Toye is going to provide answers to that. So Toye kept talking about vehicles. So somebody's asking you to name the brand.
Oh, okay. So so first of all, I do not know the risk appetite of the caller.
Yeah.
Because very, very importantly, in making investment decisions, you must understand your risk appetite. And a lot of things go into that funnel in deciding what exactly your risk appetite is. Is it a low risk appetite? Is it a medium risk appetite? Is it a large, is it a high risk appetite? And so I would rather advise that the caller, the audience, find a financial advisor or speak to an investment professional, because it's one thing to invest in an investment vehicle. It is another thing for that investment vehicle to perform relatively compared to your expectation. And so you see that a lot of people out of ambition, they invest in Ponzi schemes, and that eventually do not they lose the interest, they lose the principal. Right, so you want to as well as as much as you're trying to shield yourself from the biting effects of inflation, you also want to ensure that you are investing or saving your money, putting your money right into the appropriate investment vehicle. So while there are a lot of them, ranges. There is the stock, there is a money market, there are money market instruments. There are fixed deposit, fixed deposit products that a lot of banks and a lot of these fintechs offer. And so why they are a lot, the range is quite a lot. I'm not an investment professional, and so I cannot advise over here what exact investment vehicle the audience can. But I've mentioned quite a number of them. So if is there anyone that you think that fits your risk profile, that fits your risk appetite, you can then go ahead to invest in this.
All right, and a writer here says, "Good evening, Captain Smart and Mr. Toye. My question is from the perspective of a financial analyst. How does one convince an investor to put in 10 million naira into a wellness business and show working for return on investment of 50 million naira?" And then we'll have a call on the line. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Captain.
Thank you very much for calling. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Dayo. I'm calling from Ikeja.
Welcome, Dayo.
All right, sir. So my question is concerning this inflation. What kind of change can we take so that our spending habits can reduce? Because once everything is up, there's a certain way we need to start to cut down on the way we spend. So I want to know if it's possible we can start to cut down on certain things, our spending habits basically.
Okay, thank you very much. How to cut down on spending habits at this time.
All right, so I was trying to say earlier that one thing about consumption is that for every consumption decision we make, there is an opportunity for investment that is forgotten.
Yeah.
Right. And in the period of elevated rife inflation pressure, it is very important that as individuals and as an household collectively, we make lifestyle changes. Whether we like it or not, we're a poor nation, right? Whether we like it or not, we're a poor nation. So, first of all, you want to consider the things, you want to find out the things that are absolutely necessary, for a living. What are the things that are absolutely necessary for a living? Additionally, in making your consumption decisions, you also want to find out, are there substitutes you can make? Quite a lot of people prefer to buy certain brands of items. When they're writing up list of things they want to stock up, you see they begin to write certain brands of items. However, there are substitutes that can give you about the same value, can give you about the same utility, right? But because of that brand name, that brand name, they want to feel like, just like something was killing man, So I think that these are realities that we need to start facing as Nigerians, as individuals, as an household, to say, see, are there items that I would typically buy, but I am perhaps paying just for the brand name. Can I get locally produced substitutes? Of course, because it's locally produced doesn't necessarily mean that it's cheaper, right? Doesn't always necessarily mean that it's cheaper. There are more. I mean, they could be imported, imported brands or items that are even cheaper than locally, because maybe we do not have the deep efficiency to produce it at a very low cost. But in determining or making lifestyle changes or consumption changes, you have to look out for substitutes, to your usual habits that can help to reduce your cost. And this is where budgeting comes in. In making that kind of decision, you have to sit down, do the work, do the mathematics. That if I would usually spend or allocate 10% of my income to luxury, to frivolity, how about me cut it down by 8%, or cut it down to 7%? Because if you must live above, if you must continue to live above the poverty line in this country, two things: is either you're able to increase your income. If you're 9 to 5, you probably want to change your job, or you want to get multiple streams of income, or the like. Else, I think the lowest hanging fruit is to reduce your costs. While you're looking for ways to increase your income, increase your earning capacity and abilities, first of all, look at those leakages in your, look at those leakages on your cost schedule. Look at those leakages when you write up, your monthly budget, or your yearly budget, or your daily budget. So I think that would help. And then, of that percentage that you typically allocate to consumption, you can then pursue those investment opportunities. Those little investment opportunities that can help to shield against the impact of inflation. So that is one very major and practical step.
Oluwatoye Olosunde is a guest here on Money Talks this evening, and we're discussing rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. You can call us on the telephone 0700 923 923 923, or you can call 0818 444 0923. There's also 0818 555 0923. In addition to sending us text messages or WhatsApp messages to the number 0817 313 6193. Hello, good evening. Hello. You can try to call back 0700 923 923 923. There's also 0818 444 0923 or 0818 555 0923. So Toye, as we begin to wrap up this evening, let's go back with the phone lines. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you.
Juliet. I'm calling really good.
All right, Juliet, welcome.
To appreciate Mr. Toye first and foremost.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask a question. Is there a way in which inflation can be reduced? Maybe there's a way members of a particular society can do certain things to see that inflation is reduced to some extent. I don't know if I'll say deflation, but I don't know if deflation is good. If there's anything like that.
Okay. Deflation is the opposite of inflation. So
absolutely.
Do we take deflation then instead of inflation?
Yeah. Well.
Or what can we do to help the inflation figures, as she has asked there?
Okay, so as individual units within the economy, maybe not so much that can be done, because if you look at the composition of Nigeria's inflation today, what are the drivers? You're looking at high tariffs. You're looking at increase in dollars against the naira, poor performing currency or poorly performing currency. You're looking at increased rents, all around. Energy. You know how much you buy fuel, how much you buy diesel now. So all of this put together is what is actually driving that inflation. And inflation is actually a macro, is a macro characteristic of this of the economy. And so as individuals, what best can we do? So I think that we need to understand financial cycles. You can understand cycles generally. For instance, if in my home or in my household, where we like to eat, for instance, yam, we would usually like to eat yam and all of that. We can come together and just pull resources together and say, see, it's going to be the New Yam Festival, and we expect that price of yam will drop that period. So in the period between July and September, you want to stock the house with enough yam that can last till perhaps end of the year. taking advantage of that, that cycle, taking advantage of that season. And so, as an household and individual, to shield, oneself from the biting effect of inflation, you have to start looking out for opportunities, cycles. Understand cycles. When there's a period of, recession, depression, you want to, buy, because at that period, a lot of people are trying to sell off. So it's understanding cycles and taking advantage of those cycles. Like I mentioned with the yam, with the yam, the same thing applies to most other items, household items that you probably consume. So all of these have seasons, and you probably want to take advantage of. You stock up, and then you reduce your exposure, to that, to inflation coming from that item.
Okay, so finally, I will appreciate if you can speak to this one in just about a minute and a half. What we're doing here is financial literacy, really. So can you tell us how important financial education is in helping individuals to understand, and not just to understand, but also to navigate the effect of rising inflation on disposable income? How important is that?
Okay, so understanding that disposable income is the amount of money you have to spend at every time, at every point in time, is very essential. And then understanding as well that money held, that money you hold today, would most likely buy you less of the same item that you can buy today, right? And so even though you probably are earning more, you're able to spend less, and that is what inflation does. So I think financial literacy, what it can help you do, the importance of it is to understanding how to make good, spending decisions, good saving decisions, and good investment decisions. A lot of people are used to impulse buy, but spending that is not budgeted for, spending that they have they had no intentions of, but because they think that, this looks like a good opportunity, let me just pursue it, and eventually you find that you perhaps have spent money that you could have actually invested, because for every consumption decision that you make, there is an investment opportunity that you have probably lost or forgotten, right? So financial literacy is very important, because it will help you understand cycles, help you understand seasons, when it comes to money, when you talk about money. So it's very important. Nobody that actually spends money, nobody that actually exchanges money should pass up on the opportunity to actually learn about money, and it's working.
Wow, this has been very, very educative this evening, and I must thank you, Oluwatoye Olosunde, in the studio here this evening, discussing with me rising inflation and its impact on disposable income. Thank you so much, Toye, for coming to the program this evening. We've really enjoyed your exposition on this matter, and we hope that you find time very soon to join us again on Money Talks.
Thank you very much, Captain Smart. It was great to be here, and thank you to everyone who listened in.
Thank you very much. You can follow up on CFA Society Nigeria on social media, or you can go to their website, www.cfasocietyng.org, or on all social media platforms, CFA Society NG. Smart Uzechi is my name. Join us again next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Money Talks, hosted by the CFA Society Nigeria. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at CFA Society Nigeria. Follow us for more financial insights and updates. Keep a date with us next time.